So I'm sort of what you would call a Latina gringa, because I'm not gringa enough for people who are from the island, and I'm not Latina enough for people who are from the island, and I'm not gringa enough for the people who would think of me as being maybe part of their tribe. So I've always sort of straddled the fence in terms of my identity, not having spoken fluent Spanish at any time in my life, because my brother and I were raised in an area that was very racist, and there was a lot of discrimination against Hispanics at the time. And we were in suburbia, so the idea was to blend in. But as I grew up, it certainly turned out to be more of a detriment, because of course now being bilingual is much more of an asset. But not knowing the language somehow for my Latina tribe made me less Latina. And so I wasn't quite sure. Latina's in the house, wondering, why doesn't she speak better Spanish? And it's always been a struggle for me. Like, what is my identity if I can't speak the language, but I can eat the food and I can dance the dance, and I can understand the culture and relate more to the culture than to my gringa friends who I look more like and speak more like. So it was always a little bit confusing. And so when I began to look and study religions, I realized that it was just as confusing, because if any one religion were right, what did that say about all the others? And so I began to study a multitude of religions. And what I realized when it comes to religion and to culture is that both of these things are influenced by history and demographics. And so when you are a first-generation person who's not born or raised in the land of your parents, which may be different from where you're raised, you're not quite as attached to perhaps the cultural norms and the way of life in that area. So my example, my own history would be not having been from Puerto Rico, but certainly influenced by everything Puerto Rican, but being raised in suburbia. And so when you have multiple generations, you have people who are less attached to what may have been the original dogma of the religion of that area, and also less attached to the customs of that area. And the reason I'm talking about that is because as we move further and further away from the culture of the religion of our parents or grandparents or ancestors, the more we have the opportunity to sort of formulate our own ideas about what it is we think is best for our own spiritual path. And so as a minister, I think that the spiritual path is the priority. And yet I understand how culture influences all of us. So for my own perspective on misogyny, what I noticed as I was growing up was that there's a hierarchy in the Latin culture. Now it's probably true of all cultures, but I'm just going to speak for my own.